Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Blck Impact podcast. I am Tiffany, your host. And if this is your first time watching, thank you so much for joining in. And if you have been rocking with me since day one, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate you guys coming back and taking a look at another episode. Guys, today I am joined with Dr. Joyice Robinson Myers, a relationship counselor specializing in dating, relationship, and marriage. She helps singles navigate modern dating struggles and support couples in building deeper connection and intimacy. Everybody, let's welcome Dr. Joyice. Hey, Dr. Joyice, how are you today? I'm good. Thank you so much for joining today. We need your expertise. We need your advice on how to navigate dating as Black individuals, as in the DMV, as we just need your expertise. We need your advice. We need help because the dating pool is, I know you hear this all the time. The dating pool got pee in it. It's a mess out here, but I feel like you'll be able to clear that up for us and get us to understand what's actually going on.
Yes. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to do my best to be as impactful and valuable as I can. I know it's the Blck Impact podcast, and I'm like, okay, I got to bring it and create impact in my answers. But thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to get into these questions, everybody, okay? So, modern dating feels so exhausting for many Black men and Black women. From your perspective, what are the biggest mistakes Black singles are making in today's culture? And do these mistakes differ between men and women?
Most mistakes do, but not just mistakes, anything, right? You're going to find gender nuance. This question is a little bit tough. It's like the biggest mistakes. Ugh. But I will give you an appreciation for what I see often. So I think the first, if I just group Black men and Black women together, is that we usually operate from a position of defensiveness and not openness or discernment, even. It's just on guard, on defense. The way that men present that is different than the way that women present it, but that's the energy, right? There's hypervigilance, narrative-based assumptions. Black men don't, Black women always. Like those kind of narratives in our mind. We usually have protection strategies that are masquerading as standards, right?
Okay.
And so I know when I'm sitting with clients, my single clients, individual clients, are largely female based, right? That's not a surprise. You go to any outing
Right.
in DMV, and I'm pretty sure you see a whole lot more women.
Right.
You see men, right? Women just tend to be more interested, not just in
Yeah, man.
relationship topics, but also in learning about relationships. And then, of course, relationship formation and actually being in one. It's not to say that I don't have single male clients, it's just overwhelmingly Black females, right? So,
Okay.
um, when I dig into like, well, what are your standards? Sometimes I don't even have any. And then sometimes I find out that standard isn't, it's masquerading as a protection, back to that hypervigilance, back to that defense. But it's like you can't bring yourself to the dating process looking for connection. Now, if you're looking for something else, that's a different thing because everybody has an aim and it's not always connection. But if it is indeed connection, you're not going to get far with all of the walls, the defense, the hypervigilance, etc. There's a bunch of reasons, right? There's historical, contemporary experiences, economic instability, colorism, media, gender wars, particularly the gender wars online on social media, that shape these expectations, and people are bringing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Just at hello. And I don't know that I would call it a mistake, but I would say I don't see that type of behavior or positioning working out for people too much. I think where it splits is Black men tend to conflate leadership with control.
Mhm.
They avoid emotional articulation, but expect emotional support.
Mhm.
How
Right.
can way? How? Right?
Right.
They seek some type of respect or admiration without practicing emotional availability. And it's like
Mhm.
outside of just being a decent human being, it's hard to pony that up for you if you're not available emotionally for a woman.
Right.
Um, to speak to Black women, they usually lead with independence instead of interdependence.
What's
And
interdependent?
it's just
Oh,
a collaborative effort. It's just understanding that like men need women and women need men, maybe not in the same
okay.
ways, right?
Right.
But that we
Okay.
do. And so kind of getting rid of that narrative that like I don't need a man, I got me,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
the girl, on it. And don't get me wrong, you need to be a self-sufficient adult. I'm not taking
Right.
away from that concept. And you do need to practice a certain kind of being and moving to help you detect bad men, but also to help you detect men who just wouldn't be good for you, even if they're quote unquote a good guy.
We're good guy. Right. Right.
Right. So I'm not saying that needs to be in place. But after that's in place, then we need to still have some type of warmth, invitation,
Mm-hmm.
connection type
Mhm.
forward behavior. And you don't get there by believing you are an island, operating solo, acting like you
Yeah.
don't know anybody else, which is more the independence and the interdependence. It's like, well, we need each other. And
Right.
and I want a man. Like I want one.
Right.
So it needs to be, I need to present that way if that's what I actually want. Now, if you don't want one and you just want to be
Mhm.
someplace by yourself, solo and independent, that's a different story. I'm not taking
Right.
that narrative away from women. I'm asking dating women who really want connection and a healthy, strong relationship. How is that working for you on the dating market? And usually it's not working out so well. I
Right.
think also with women, some of those mistakes could look like over indexing on stability and provision while under evaluating emotional capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks into some deeper things, but that's there. And then I think maybe the last one I'll say is interpreting inconsistency as disinterest rather than data. I mean, it could equal
Can, what-
interest.
can you give me an example of that?
Yeah, like I am going to use a client, bring her to my mind.
Okay.
There was a season where, sometimes you're dating and the person catches you in like a season in life that just got you. It's not necessarily indicative of who you are,
Right.
like
Okay.
regularly or long term, but it's not enough to make you be like, I'm just not gonna date. There are certain things
Right.
that happen, and it's like, ooh, baby, you just need to sit out, regroup
Yeah.
after this, and don't leave people alone.
Yeah.
There are obviously you're just living your life. You can't shut down all paths and possibilities just because something difficult or hard or different is happening to you. And so I have had clients, I'm thinking of one in particular, but it's been more than one that this has happened to,
Mm-hmm.
where you just find people and you catch them in the middle of life, right?
Right.
Life just be life in. And so now I'm not talking about an inconsistency where it's like, I don't know if this guy's coming or going. That's different. But, you know, it could look like, oh, he called you on a Monday
Mm-hmm.
and then he doesn't call you again until a Thursday. And then maybe he doesn't call you again until the following Tuesday, right? And
Oh,
sometimes
right.
women can just be like, oh, that's so inconsistent. Like
Yeah.
it's not the same, it's not always Mondays, they're always Thursdays, or it's not daily, or it's not when I want him to call me, because you got to figure out
Right.
like what is a woman saying when she's saying inconsistent, because we don't all have the same definition. And
Right.
I encourage, if you just don't like something, you just don't like something, but I'm still going to ask you why you don't like it, what's coming up for you, so that we can really
Mm-hmm.
get to the heart of something. But I am going to encourage you to look at that behavior and start interpreting as data. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does this mean? This man has given you these kind of markers. He's laid this kind of evidence out. What does this mean for you? As opposed to projecting and
Mm-hmm.
branding and predefining who a man is, how he shows up, just because your 2 or 3 phone calls with them, or your 2 or 3 experiences with them. Sometimes that's not fair. It's
Mhm.
premature and it can be short-sighted. And usually it's always in the negative. It's
Mhm.
always like a critical or a negative remark, but it's never like, huh, maybe he has a job and something else, a passion project.
Right.
Maybe he is um committed to his community in a way that calls these kind of hours. I have a client now who, she's like, well, we only talk like 2 days a week. And I'm like, well, you should get
Mm.
curious about why
You
that is,
want to talk,
right?
right?
Is he just organizing his dating life like that? Because that could be
Right.
true. Is he otherwise busy doing other things? And so dating is something that he has time for. He dedicates 2 days out of the week to it.
Right.
But it might not be something that he's willing to take up 5 or 7 days this early in the game. And rightfully so. But sometimes women can want it all kind of upfront.
Do you think that, so you do you think that we just need to extend out more grace in the dating world? And also, do you think that we should communicate exactly what we're looking for immediately, like as soon as we like interact with that person and they're trying to pursue, we should have that communication so we won't be creating all of these expectations that can't be met?
I think both of those are fair, right? Grace is a tricky word.
Okay.
Grace is a tricky word. Communicate expectations, yes. Yes. Because what is there to hide?
Right.
Right? I understand wanting to have, a relationship is going to be a combination of all of the things we love, right? Good times and memories and trips
Mhm.
and the ooey gooey feelings and
Right. The
having,
honeymoon
yes,
stage.
right, having the security that someone is always there. Those, yes, it is that.
Right.
But it is also the hard conversations. It is also working through difficult things. It is also life happening to the two individuals sometimes,
Right.
a
Hmm.
couple, right, as a unit. And not every single good thing is stemming from getting through something challenging, but a lot of it is. Like, security isn't just
Yeah.
baked in a person never leaving. Security is baking in, like, I there's a predictability here. I
Hmm.
know how this person is going to show up. I know they're not going to yell at me no
Hmm.
matter what. I know they're not going to cuss and fuss at me, right? And you only know that because you get presented with the conflict or a situation that
Right.
would, in your mind, estimate that kind of behavior, but then it doesn't happen, right? So the expectations is like, well, yeah, let's communicate that, because what is there to hide if you're being authentic and why you are present in
Right.
the dating process. Now, grace is tricky because grace is one of those words that lives in religion and it lives in like our secular world, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, because most Black people are religious or spiritual in some way, it can be conflated, right?
Okay.
And I'm never talking about holding someone to a religious mandate as they are kind of assessing another person. And you can always say, I want to date insert religion, a person who practices this religion, and that's fine. But it wouldn't necessarily be fair to use your definition and paradigm religiously and then use that as the marker that you're projecting onto other people to assess their behavior. Because it's, well, girl, that's your definition. That's in your word.
Right.
That's your religion. That's not necessarily
Yeah.
your practice of that religion, not necessarily somebody else's. So grace is a little word for that. But if we just mean like allowing people space to be human,
Mm-hmm.
to correct, to sometimes explain, because sometimes explanation isn't necessary, but to explain
Right.
and just giving room and space for that, yes. What I don't want people to hear is like the religion version of grace often, which is just this abounding, overwhelming forgiveness, of this
Mm-hmm.
turning a blind eye, just because. And usually that kind of definition is harmful to women. So I can't,
Right.
in good faith, so as a woman, I can't, in good faith, just kind of say, girl, get that man grace without some context and maybe some disclaimer, like for
Mhm.
that religious undertone reason. But
Mhm.
in general, sometimes we do struggle with, especially on the dating market, we struggle with seeing people as human and whole beings
Mhm.
and seeing their worth and their value just because that is true. Now, that doesn't mean you have interest relationally or
Right.
that you can do anything, but it's like, yo, this is a human.
Yeah.
People, grace and space to be human.
Right.
So
Natalie. Okay. So how does unhealed trauma show up in Black men and Black women, especially those who believe they're actively healing?
I'm like, this question is so specific. Who you been talking to? And I mean, healing is a journey,
Yes.
right? And especially if you decide to choose a long-term partner, they're gonna see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Um,
Mhm.
and it's less about what you show outwardly, though that is included, and more about, can you see yourself? Can you spot your errors? Can you bring yourself to what needs to be done for necessary and whole reconnection and repair, right? It doesn't mean you're never going to go off again if you're working on your temper, or it
Right.
doesn't mean you're never going to shut down again if you're working on being avoidant. Usually, the traumas that we have, and even if it's not trauma, even if it's just patterns,
Mhm.
they stem from childhood, and
Yeah.
not just childhood, but a relationship with a formative individual,
Right.
a parent, a caregiver, a coach, a teacher, etc. And so there is no way to look like that didn't happen to you.
Right.
Whatever it was, right? Like, it's a part of your
Part of
emotional
you.
universe.
Yeah.
It's a part of you. You carry it. And at any given moment, it's available to emote, to present, to come out. And while you can get a good hold on that, so I'm not saying just go out here erupting on people.
Right. Right.
The healing is less about, does that present or emote out, because it probably will at some time, even if you get a good handle on the timing, the cues, the things that are true to help trigger it, and you try to like actively avoid that or structure your life to help support that. um, the reality is it probably still is at some point. And so the healing is less about those things that I just said, though it includes it, and more. And when that happens, do
Mhm.
you see that that's what happened? When someone
Yeah.
is trying to call you on it, can you see that your behavior created this, or that the way
Right.
you're defining it is in alignment with what you presented or what's true about you? And in doing that, do you have the necessary skills and tools for reconnection and repair? Because most people are not expecting humans to be 100% perfection. They're
Mhm.
expecting for you to show humility
Yeah.
and be able to say, my accountability as well, be able to say, my bad, that was on me. And then
Yeah.
the necessary work for the space to feel safe again, for people to engage with you and want to re-enter, right? Like that
Mhm.
relational space. But to speak to it, um, Black men, usually it's emotional restriction, like framed as strength.
Mhm.
And it's like, but you don't even gotta do all that. Like, no
Right.
human being,
Right.
know, that provider pressure tied to identity.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big one. I mean,
Yeah. That is a big one.
the social media discourse, as well as academic literature, is full of this conversation about protective provider energy. I actually have a podcast episode coming out on the 6th, I believe, where I kind of like interview my husband on this concept, because it's just gotten
Oh.
so, I don't know, like, ubiquitous in literature and in social media. But
Yeah.
so I'm not saying that every Black man sees themselves as a provider or wants to be, but for the ones who
Do.
do, it's
Yes.
very tied to identity, and that
Identity.
difficult, right? And I think there's another question that you want to ask later that kind of lends itself to this, but it's also in the same breath, they'll say, well, I want to feel like I'm being valued or appreciated,
Right.
not
Yeah.
just for
Yes.
what it is that I provide. But it's like, but if you've made it your identity and it's all that you lead with, it's how you show up.
So what? Right.
It's going to be difficult for someone to not appreciate that that's what it
Yeah.
is. And sometimes you put yourself at risk for being taken advantage of, and then there's no appreciation. So there's that. I think some other unhealed things for Black men is just like shame around being vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, society has done that to them, but I don't think that
Yes.
women have helped them out, because in a lot of cases when men decide to be like, you know what, I'm gonna put my big boy pants on and
Hmm.
decide to be vulnerable at that given moment, it's often met with mockery, ridicule, not taking
Hmm.
it as serious, or later it comes back up and is weaponized,
Yeah.
you know, or they're penalized for it. And so, like, women, we could stand to do better when it comes to that. And then I think maybe another one for men, withdrawal during conflict.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. For women, hmm, over functioning in early stages.
He said,
Mhm.
like I'm going to dig into y'all.
Okay, so I sit at this really interesting intersection, right? Where, like, as a woman, I am into men. So I
Right.
have an insight on what they do because that's who I'm actually relating to and engaging
Right.
with, right? And even if it's not my man personally, my best friends, my girlfriends, when we talk about their marriages and their husbands, and I'm like, oh, I see what you're relating to. But
Yeah.
then when it comes to women, like, that's who I'm mostly involved with. Um, when it comes to dating, I do have a clientele base for couples, but usually they're not dating when they come to me. Sometimes they are, but largely they've either, you know, decided they're engaged
Hmm.
and they're working on premarital education, or they're at the cusp of it and they want my support to, like, justify
Yeah.
that this act should happen, or they're just
Oh, okay.
they're already partnered or married, right?
Right.
So when it comes to, like, just looking at single women, I'm like, no, I see how y'all move.
Hmm.
And so obviously I can speak to, like, what I see in that way. But so the first would be the over functioning in early stages. And over functioning can look like a lot, but
Hmm.
in the early stage, it's largely over investing. Men should be the early investors of relationship. And there's a lot of biological and evolutionary support
Hmm.
for what I just said. I'm not saying it because it's my opinion, though I do believe in
Yeah.
that biological and evolutionary um, evidence. It's a really good book, and I'm going to speak to it a little bit more at length on my own pod later. But there's a really good book. I think it's like the 21st Century Guide of Hunter Gatherers, something like that.
Okay.
And the authors do a really good job from a biological, sometimes genetic, but largely a biological and an evolutionary perspective, explaining why that early investment should come from male
A
person.
man.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and the second one I would say is a hyper analyst of minor relational shifts. I mean, you let that relationship move 0.1 degree from whatever, or that connection from what it is, and what does that mean? And then just like this hyper analysis on every,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
fix.
and I'm like, girl, that is what, are you whole? What you got going
Are you
on?
right?
You're acting like life doesn't have natural ebbs and flows. Can one person be one thing all the time,
Right.
24/7? Goodness. And then I think the third is, like, for women, testing partners instead of trusting the process.
Mm.
And then don't get me wrong, dating in part is an assessment and
Yeah.
kind of vetting process. But even when we think about, in employment,
Yeah.
you're being assessed and vetted. There are some jobs that do come with a test, but in most cases, nobody is testing you or tricking you to kind of see what you will do, right? It's just
Mhm.
making sure that the
Right.
measure that you are as an employee, or in this case, the measure that you are as a man, is being properly weighed and judged.
Yeah. Within
But it's
those
not gimmies and gotchas
60
and all.
days. Right. Yeah.
So when you feel the need to do that, again, it's like, are you okay?
Right. I understand. I have been that person who has overextended, or like what you said before. I have been all of those things, but all of those things come from my childhood, which I have been working through on my journey, and then also past hurt that I have encountered within relationships. But if you haven't like tried to dissect and find out like exactly why you show up that way, then it's like you'll be pouring into a cup that's still full of mess. So
And then you'll say things like, well, the dating pool has pee in it,
yeah,
right?
I
It's
don't
like, well,
think the dating pool has peen. I'm just saying that they say that. I
yeah.
think that you should be able to go out and get around people who have the same interests that you have, and just be open to whatever your needs are. Right. But I feel like a lot of people are not really open anymore. Like before I began on this journey, I was open, but I was looking for the wrong things. Like I really didn't know exactly who I was, and how I was, and what partner I was seeking. So I was just settling for whatever was coming my way, or whatever was giving me attention, and it wasn't the right thing to do. So I had to take a step back and figure out who I am as a person and what I actually like. And I had to just do dissecting. What's that little game like the dissector as a kid? I had to do
Oh,
that on my
operation?
yeah, operation. Yes, I had to do that on myself. Be like, okay, wait, nope, wait, no. So yeah, I think a lot of times, like, I feel like now we're starting to get around to like doing that, but some of us aren't really quite there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's fair. And I like what you said about the attention, because it speaks to that first kind of bullet that I listed in the overfunctioning, because a woman tends to just accept the guy who shows her the
attention.
first or the
Yeah.
most attention, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want people to hear that and mistake attention for interest, because the guy who shows
Right.
interest, that might work out for you,
Right.
but just attention, it alone isn't going to do it. But it speaks to, right, how
Mhm.
girls at this point, and we can include women, but this thing starts as early as
But
girls,
yeah.
how conditioned we are to just be a part of male gaze, right? To
Yeah.
just be part of, oh, my value is caught up in either being chosen or
Chosen. Yeah.
somebody, wanting me,
Yep.
blah blah. And that, not only does it show up as quote unquote unhealed trauma, it also really hurts your positionality on the dating market, because it doesn't require men a lot, at least on their part, to give you attention. And usually when that's the gravitational pull early in the game, they're not even giving you intentional intention. They
Mm-hmm.
have calculated how much of it to throw at you and
Right.
still have access to you.
Right.
So yeah.
I'm here with you. I'm learning a lot too. What are some signs in Black men and Black women may be emotional unavailable, even if they say they're ready to commit?
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing here.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish I had one of my clients
Feel like
sitting
I
right here.
struggle with this. I feel like I struggle with this is because on my end, like I'm open to dating. I want to be in a committed relationship. But then I have this like thing in the back of my head that's like, oh, I'm like, I don't want to self-sabotage, right? But it's
Yes.
like when I meet someone, I'm like, I feel like sometimes I try to dissect them, but I'm not trying to do it intentionally. I'm just trying to figure out, like, is this going to work for me or if it's not going to work for me? And then sometimes I have to chill out and be like, okay, let's just see what this is, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So, but it's kind of, oh my God, it's kind of hard trying to do that too. But I'm open.
But
But
you
I'm open.
get your reps on the dating market, right? And so
Yeah.
this is why I said this one's interesting. So I think I mentioned in one of your questions, one of my responses was um, kind of like hyper analyzing
Mm-hmm.
or the testing, the trying to figure it all. And it's like, just
Yeah.
trust the
Just
process.
process. Right. Right.
Now, you don't be a fool to the process. I didn't say
Right.
that, right? Look, activate your pattern recognition skills, right?
Right.
Like understand when your intuition is screaming mayday, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not saying be a prostrate fool to a
Right.
process, right? But you do, when you decide to engage in any process, there is some submitting or some yielding of it that you have
Yeah.
to do. If
Yeah.
you're going to be so distrusting and guarding and armored up
Right.
every little
Everything.
step of the process, then why are you in it?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? It's no
Mhm.
different than looking for an apartment, purchasing a house, going to grad school. It's several steps in that process. And you
Yeah.
don't always see a clear tunnel from the beginning of your interest
Yeah.
into the the finality of what you want.
Right. Right.
See that, right? Like I just know I want to like go to grad school. I just know I want a PhD.
Yeah. I think
Like
we're so, we don't like the uncertainty part of it. And it's like you can't control what you don't see. And it's like you have to be able to release that control, that uncertainty. You have to be okay with uncertainty. I'm learning how to be comfortable in uncertainty. Yes, that is a journey itself.
a whole journey itself. I mean, that concept right there is
Yeah.
why I am in demand. Not exclusively, but definitely in part
Yeah.
because what I have found with women, and particularly Black women, we are capable of pretty much anything. Like,
Yes.
capability is not the issue.
Yes.
But largely speaking, for us, we need community
Yeah.
or at least mentorship
Yes.
when we are trying to navigate the kinds of things that you and I are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes a heavy dose of support. And so I've seen women, you are correct, where like, whew, that's a whole bit all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And in hiring me, I can help them with that because that is difficult
Yeah.
to manage on your own. And while your girlfriends can help comfort and soothe you, maybe even in some cases validate you,
Right.
that's
I'm
not,
sorry.
that's
Keep
okay.
going. He's gonna bark.
That's not the same as molding you, shaping you, helping to evolve you.
Yeah.
And we do have a little bit of a, I don't know, issue might be too rough of a word, but we do have a little bit of an issue among the Black sisterhood with knowing that we need that and finding that support. We tend to think, oh, our girlfriends, our aunties, and our mamas can do that.
Yeah.
And it could be true. That could be true in your case that they possess those skills, but oh, women, they don't. Your
Yeah.
girlfriends are going to cheer for you, comfort you. They're not necessarily intentionally engaged with
Ages.
you for
Right.
the sake of evolving you, maturing you, really helping you get over some humps. And half of the
Right.
things
Right.
that you would need to admit out loud to get over the humps, you don't want to say to them.
Yeah.
You'll say it to me, but you don't want to even say it to them. So I don't know
Right.
how we got off on that. But um yes, the uncertainty is really a thing. And people act like it is a unique thing to the dating market.
Right.
Uncertainty in life is everywhere. Like you manage uncertainty in every aspect of your life. And then when it comes to dating, you be like, oh,
Right. Yeah.
if I can't know the end from the beginning,
Right.
for what? Or you project that on somebody's son
Yeah.
real hard body in a way that's like, girl, he cannot give you that. Not because he's a bad man or a non-serious one, though I guess he could be either. We don't know that early
Oh,
in
right.
the game. But
Right.
that equaling is off.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you're right. So I think your question though is around like the signs of emotional
Emotional
availability.
healing. Yeah.
So for Black men, it tends to look like avoiding emotional depth, avoiding that vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
shutting down or acting out,
Mm-hmm.
especially when challenged or being told no.
Yeah.
I say to my clients all the time, we're gonna find out exactly who this man is when you tell him no. And I don't mean in the pursuit or in the chase. I don't like the word chase in that way, but I don't mean in that way because sometimes that just motivates a man to be like to keep on trying.
Right.
I mean really blocking his access to something that he wants from you, but not in a way that would give him the boost because he got your yes. Like it's just no,
Right.
it's just not gonna
Yeah.
happen, right? Like we're gonna really find out who he is.
Right.
Providing materially without providing emotionally for the ones who identify as providers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Emotional unavailability also shows up as deflecting feelings. What else for Black men? Oh, processing through language like I think, but not I feel. That can also be true of Black women. So that's not exclusive for Black men, but it's just a thing
Okay.
that comes up a lot. Like when I'm sitting with couples sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, the woman could have had her share, and I'll say, well, let me hear from you. Let me hear you react to that. They use, well,
Yeah.
I think, and I'm like, I really appreciate those comments. It sounds like you feel okay
Right.
about these things. Do you want to like try that again and kind of tap into what the
Yeah.
emotion is coming up and not just how you are thinking about
Yeah.
emotion? So that can be some things. And then for Black women, it's also fear of vulnerability. We tend to, and this is huge on social media discourse, we tend to like uh give men, and I guess in this case Black men, a whole bunch of stink for the lack of emotional availability, particularly vulnerability. And that's
Mm-hmm.
valid. But that's also true of us. And it might
Yes.
not be true of us in our individual lives or in our sisterhoods, but it is very true of us when we think about just being a whole woman in the
Yeah.
presence and in the face of a man. Y'all do not like to be honest either. You do not like to feel raw or exposed or put yourself out there either.
Yeah.
Different than these men. It manifests differently, right? Because
Yes.
things are not going to happen in the same way or mean
Right.
the same thing when men and women do it. But when you know energy, you just know energy. And it's like, both y'all scared.
Yeah. I don't even, and I think that whole vulnerability thing, like we don't like to admit when we're scared or feeling some type of way, or I'm afraid that you might react this way, so that's why I withheld this from you, right?
And Black women have a huge resistance of feeling embarrassed,
Yes.
and feeling um, like I went first, I put myself out there,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't met there, which is just rejection.
Yes.
Right? But
We do not like rejection.
no, we dog walk men on social media how
Yes.
they respond to rejection. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there are certain men who do not respond in kind to it. But
Yeah.
being largely speaking the pursuers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not judging the kind of pursuer in this sentence, but just being in that position largely has conditioned men to be a little bit more used to or just comfortable with rejection
Mm-hmm.
than women. Yet it's women who are talking about men like woefully bad, when
Yeah.
it comes to how they respond to rejection. But women do not like that at all. When I am with couples, I have a thing where, depending on the issue, I'll respond with, okay, who wants to go first?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go first? And, we are on camera when this happens. And of course, I
Mm-hmm.
can't violate confidentiality.
Right.
But if I could take a clip of every
Every.
dating, exclusive, engaged, or married, partnered or married, if
Mm-hmm.
I could take a clip of every couple when I ask that question, the visceral reaction on the female body every single time. They'd be like, whoop, not me. Like that, they are not.
Oh, they
Or
be like,
just
not
either
me.
point at him. They
Really?
they
I
do.
was in my head. I'm thinking like they will be like, oh, let me, like they want to air it out.
No, that is
No.
that is not what happens. The only time a woman wants to marry out is if she feels like she's in the right, she's been done wrong. But now it's
Okay.
because you got whipping powers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But
Okay.
it's not like there's repair, there's a conversation, there was a misunderstanding, and I'm like, okay, so this is what needs to happen. I'm going to talk about a framework with one of the answers to your questions later, but I have this framework, theoretical framework that I
Mm-hmm.
call the face, hand, heart theory. And
Okay.
so when we are in conflict, when we are a misunderstanding, when we are in repair, whatever it could be, right? One of the first things that I'll say is, all right, it is very difficult to re-engage with each other because when that has happened, the third space has been interrupted. Somebody has left it, or both of y'all have. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is flying solo, or the space has been abandoned, and that can't maintain itself in a healthy relationship. It can happen in a relationship, but it can't be sustained. Then
Mm-hmm.
there ends up being no relationship, or the health of it left, and it's just all kind of bad. I don't use the word toxic, but I know y'all do, so it would look like that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, like, the first thing that needs to happen is I need two people who are willing to turn their face to each other. And
Mm-hmm.
they could do that physically if they want to, but I'm talking about an emotional
Emotional. Yeah.
posture towards each other, right? So, who would like to go first? And then women be like, not me. Or they just point at them, or they just,
Yeah. Okay.
you know what I mean? Now, I will give Black women their credit. When Black men just don't do,
Mm-hmm.
women will find whatever it is, the grit, the perseverance, whatever it could be, they will find it to be like, okay, I'll just do it. But that is not usually a healthy response because now
Yeah.
a woman is feeling like I have to do
Have
the
to
job
do.
of another
Yeah.
partner.
Right.
Or if we really want to make it be racial and cultural to us as a people,
Mm-hmm.
I had to do what a grown man couldn't or wouldn't. But at that point again, now we're not talking about a healthy relationship because if a woman
Yeah.
feels like that's how she has to do it,
Yeah.
how she views you, like all of that is getting ready to go,
Yeah.
and that has to be repaired. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it can get dicey really quickly, but um, that is definitely one of them. Like that vulnerability is sometimes the lack of emotional courage. Sometimes I'll be talking to a woman, I'll be like, okay, whether it's a woman who's dating a person and
Mm-hmm.
she's just my client solo, or
Mm-hmm.
whether this is a dating couplehood, but it is the single woman who booked a session with me just to like get it out, get those early emotional
Mm-hmm.
drafts is what I call them. Get those out with me. Don't take that. Don't take that to your man.
I get that.
It's just a dating relationship,
Right.
you know. Uh, And so, like, sometimes I'll be working with them and I'm like, okay, so tell me what you want to say. Like, unbarred, just tell me what you want to say. And
Yeah.
most of the time I'll be like, why don't you just say that?
Say it. Right. Right.
And the emotional courage is just, not there. I think a second one could be comparing current prospects or a current partner to an imagined
Okay.
ideal. I have to say all the
Mm.
time, who told you that?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be assessing, judging this man based upon
Mm-hmm.
your own standards and the experience he has given you.
Right.
I don't hear one of your standards, and I don't hear where this man did any of what you're talking about right now. It's literally not there.
Mm.
So that has a huge sign of like, oop, there's some emotional unavailability and we need to crack that egg, or
Mm.
the connection in the emotional, there's a really secure emotional attachment and security that women are looking for doesn't come without that, right? Like the when you connect with somebody, you create an energy,
Right.
and that energy creates a little life of its own. I mean, you guys have to breathe into it to keep it sustaining, but it
Yes.
creates a little life of its own, and it's going to determine, sometimes dictate, right,
Yeah.
certain things from you at certain times. And you want the connection to continue to move and live and mature and progress. And
Mm-hmm.
so it may be that just to be connected, you didn't need a host of emotional availability. But to move it from this point to that point, we gonna need to.
Mm-hmm.
And so this emotional like, it's not all, that's why I said it's a little tricky and a little interesting. You don't have like this heap of emotional availability to start with. That's just this ever ending supply that just,
Mm-hmm.
shows your readiness. These things
Yeah.
are developed in relationship with other people. And so while there are some skills that you can build solo,
Yeah.
and you should, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of what people are looking for is built and designed in conversation, in connection, and in community with someone else. And that someone else doesn't have to be a boyfriend, a fiance,
Right.
or a husband. It can just be a
Deep.
few guys that you're dating. But you have to keep yourself engaged in conversation, in contact, in connection with the with men, if I'm a woman, with men, to refine and sharpen your skills relationally to the point that, okay, I could maintain a relationship. You have to
Yeah.
allow that process to happen. For women, they tend to think they have all of that from jump.
Yeah.
No, I got
No.
that. I'm waiting on him.
I'm listening and I'm like, oh my God, this interview is helping me because I'm like, everything she said, I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm gonna knock out maybe two or three more. One is
Okay.
unrealistic expectations. And
Okay.
I'm not talking about a woman lowering her standards, because fine. I'm talking about like where your expectations are so unrealistic, it doesn't show like this is another human being. Like, just
Yeah.
regard for someone else. When you're just looking to maximize dollars, or, create status or a
Mm.
position, or fairy tales that are not true, like no one's going to bring you 12 dozen roses every time they see you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not practical. I think another one could be chronic dissatisfaction without clear requests. Sometimes wanting a mind reader. I see this a lot,
Mm.
a lot. Women are like, well, I was just disappointed by what happened and what I got. And I'm like, well, what were you expecting? Disappointment comes from
Right.
expectation. So, well, what, or they were just dissatisfied. And I'm like, but you didn't say that. Like,
Right.
he has no way of knowing
Knowing.
that
Yeah.
that's what it could be. And, they like to make, women like to major in hints, but that goes back to being afraid to just say it.
Say it. Yeah.
Now, don't get me
I,
wrong. When I
while you're speaking, I'm thinking of like everything that she's taking me through there.
think I deal with women who, like, this is a
Yeah.
real thing day to day, right? And
Woo, she breathed. I'm like, woo.
I totally
Yep.
confuse that with, um, once you start having a history with someone, like you've built some reps and you have some time underneath your belt, um, or you just had a really intentional conversation, because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that can happen too. It's not off to desire for a man to relate to you like he knows those things.
Right.
That is completely fine. That's just not the same thing as reading your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the same thing as the majority of your communication being suggestive or hinting, and then being disappointed or feeling some type of way when a person either could not pick up on your hint or suggestion,
Right.
or their version of trying to deliver on it didn't match what you actually wanted. And it's like, but he tried for the information that he had. All he had was
Yeah.
a hint.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you just be like, well, it would be really good to get some flowers, and he doesn't
Did you?
read that, he didn't read it. Or if he does and he brings you back carnations, but you wanted calla lilies, girl, you just said it'll be nice to have some flowers. Like, how was he supposed to
Right.
know? So for the hint, he did a good job.
Right.
And I think the last one for this one is like hijacking softness. And so there's this idea, especially in social media discourse, and I know you've heard of it, where it's like,
Yeah. I'm like, I
I
want to
need a
hear more.
man to be masculine so I could be feminine,
So,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
Or it's like to make me be soft. Now, I understand, usually when women are saying things, even if it is the like, girl, are you okay?
Hmm.
Or that's crazy work. Who could keep up with
Yeah.
that? Who could do that? Even when they're doing that, there's still usually some kernel of either truth or some kernel of I know where that's coming from, even though how it's being said and the
Okay.
expectations around it
Yeah.
are a little off, right? So I
Right,
will
right,
give
right.
them that. And I know what they're saying. Like, it's very difficult if a man is the one creating chaos, if he's the one, especially when the chaos is confusion. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Confusion is such a hard
Yeah.
woo, thing early in the game. If he's creating confusion, creating chaos, um, doing things to actively dysregulate your nervous system, it will be difficult to be soft or to be quote unquote feminine, even if you want it to be. I do
Yeah.
understand that.
Right.
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
Possible, but it will be more difficult. And I think men need to have a command on that. When you want women to present this way, well, guess what? You can help incentivize people to respond to you in the way that you want by not doing the thing that will get you that
Yeah.
will produce the least likelihood of you being able to get what it is that you want. Like, come on, bro,
Mhm.
help me help you. However, womanhood isn't predicated on manhood.
Mhm.
Womanhood isn't predicated on how men decide to show up or not. You have to decide all on your own, right? And this is where we get into selfhood. And selfhood is
Yeah.
such a lost concept, right?
Yep.
I have worked with women a lot sometimes before they ever get to dating on just selfhood and then your own sense of womanhood and your own
Mhm.
expression of femininity. Those things don't have to look one way for anybody. You have your unique expression of it, but you need to
Yeah.
define that and commit to that for yourself. And when you do, there's nothing that a man can do
Right.
to make that not be the case, right? And so we do have to own our own selfhood, our own sense of womanhood, and our own expression of femininity on
Mhm.
our own,
Yeah.
unattached and removed from a man. This is just how you move as a woman. This is your expression of femininity.
Mhm.
And that kind of is what it is. Then, when you start relating to men, if you start to see that this man is the author of confusion, an author of chaos,
Mhm.
it deregulates you so much
Yeah.
that now you can't even be relaxed in an energy because you got to be vigilant,
Right. Right.
right? I understand that, but let's not use that and say, well, if he not masculine, I can't be feminine, because that's giving men way too much credit.
Much power.
Those things,
Right.
they're not
Yeah.
they don't go together in that way,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Instead, and this is where I say to women all the time, and I don't mean this to be demeaning because I know sometimes we say it to like toddlers or children, but like use your words, really
Yeah.
parse out what you're saying. Because to take that dynamic and say that I can't be feminine unless a man is masculine is wild. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy to say. Instead, just say that when men have consistent behavior that deregulates my nervous system, it is more difficult
Yeah.
to show up as the woman that I want to show up. And if that is the case, then what does that say about that man? That should just make
Yes.
you want to be like abort
Like,
mission, because I've already
right.
determined as a woman, this is going to be how this is my sense of personhood, and this is how
Yes.
my sense of womanhood, and this is my expression of femininity. And if when I get with you, you make that difficult for me to do,
Yeah.
then I need to
I need to go.
I need to bounce, right? But
Hmm.
not, I can't be a woman unless you a man. That's
That's
wild.
crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay. Woo, y'all. We done packed a lot. And she got me thinking. Hey guys, this concludes the first part of Is Dating Cooked in 2026 featuring Dr. Joyice Myers Robertson, relationship, marriage, and dating expert. We touched on so many different topics, guys. I hope you left with some great advice because I know I did and I know I needed it. I hope this resonated with you guys. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Blck Impact Podcast and also Dr. Joyice. If you want to book her, her information will be down in the description below. Please check out part two because we had so much to go over. I had so many questions. So there will be a part two. And guys, thank you so much for supporting me. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Blck Impact part two of Is Dating Cooked in 2026. All right, guys, I'll see you.